Hi. So we're very happy to host Nicola Armacost, and she, as Micah said, is the mayor of the. Wow, my God. So, anyways, let's bring her on. And so it's really cool. She's been doing a lot of great green solutions for her municipality, and she's going to tell us about green banking and the best ways that our own regions can go green. So, hi, thank you for joining us.
Hi, KGB. It's so fantastic to see you actually in reality. How exciting.
Yeah, I agree. It's great to see you too. So your background gives you insight into both public sector and private sector financing. So what are the most effective ways a municipality can finance going green, and how are they to implement that in reality?
Well, first of all, really special thanks to you and to Mike and the whole Drawdown team for having me. It's really a delight to be here. And after listening to Edwina, who was incredibly colorful, I really hope this session is not too dry. But I wanted to just start out by saying, after being elected as mayor of Hastings on Hudson in 2019, I learned about two fantastic programs offered by New York State that lay out some of the options available for a municipality. And I think that's what you were referring to, Mike, the Climate Smart Communities program, which Dazzle is the fearless head of, and the Clean Energy Communities program, which is run by NYSERDA. They're very closely related to each other, and they are a really fantastic, smart and clear template for municipalities interested in addressing climate change. So for example, Energize New York Finance, which is also called Property Assessed Clean Energy or PACE financing, is part of both of those programs. And through the program, commercially owned businesses that are eligible in New York State can secure funds to tackle significant energy upgrades and renewable energy products. The financing structure is available through the Energy Improvement Corporation, EIC, for projects that reduce energy costs in buildings that already exist. So after learning about it, we thought that sounded like a great way to open up financing for residents in our municipality. And in last June, in 2020, or I guess the June before last June, we passed a resolution to allow open PACE financing in the village. Another way we've accessed green financing for the municipality ourselves is through grants. So for example, as a result of advancing in the Clean Energy Communities program and the CSC program, we were given 115,000 in grants, just simply for moving up the kind of hierarchy of the program. And we use that to upgrade the HVAC system in our police department. We also received 28,000 in rebates from NYSERDA for purchasing electric vehicles and installing EV charging infrastructure. And there are so many other grants out there for nature-based solutions, for green infrastructure. I know that trying to work out what grants are available for municipalities is a bit like trying to navigate a Byzantine court, but it's definitely worth doing. And I'm happy if there are any municipal leaders, elected officials on the call. I'm really happy to follow up with them afterwards on some of the things that we've learned. And then a third area that is important for municipalities is just simply the way in which you save as a result of investing in clean energy solutions. So for example, we enrolled our municipal accounts in community solar as an anchor subscriber. So we have 4 meters that are enrolled, and we anticipate just through doing that we will save 70,000 in energy costs per year. It costs us nothing. We just basically have signed up in the same way as an individual would sign up for community solar. We signed up as a municipality. I think we're the first, at least in Westchester County, to have done that. We also, like many other municipalities, replaced conventional street lights with any energy efficient LEDs. We're beginning the transition to electric vehicles, which will save us huge amounts of money and also in fuel, and also reduce pollution. And so, you know, these kinds of savings not only move us towards a cleaner municipal energy set of sources, but all of that money is now freed up and can be invested in other green initiatives. So there are a few initial ideas for you, KGB.
Yeah. Wow, that is really, really so impressive. How long have you been in this position, and how long has this work has been in the making?
So I've been mayor since 2019, but I was elected a trustee in 2009. So I've been watching this process for, I guess, almost, 13 years. Yeah, it'll be 13 years.
Fantastic. Oh my God. I mean, I was 3, and like, look at what you've done for your entire community. I think that's just so marvelous.
Well,
So
I'm dying to see what you end up doing moving forward. I'm sure that you will speed things along much more quicker than my generation.
thank you so much. And like, just like from listening to these amazing talks, I'm just like, oh yeah, so I'm just gonna log in and see what I do. And I'm just like, it's so inspirational. And thinking that all the ways you can apply this to your own life. I mean, it's just like so much. So I'm just so happy this is happening and having this opportunity to even be here. So anyway, moving on. So what, in your view, are some of the most innovative private sector financing mechanisms geared at addressing climate change?
So in my world, I'm obviously a municipal official as mayor, but I'm also involved in a company called Arc Finance. I'm the CEO of Arc Finance, and we're very focused on financing clean energy in other parts of the world. So in my world, investors are super excited about solutions that focus on addressing climate change. There are a whole bunch of boutique investors focused on this space, as well as a growing number of more established investors. And there are some newish funds dedicated to this area. They tend to have impossible names like the Climate Resilience and Adaptation Finance and Technology Transfer Facility, fondly known as CRAFT. But bottom line, what we're seeing are more and more recognition that fossil fuels are actually stranded assets and will not be able to generate an economic return in the future. And as a result, investors are diversifying away from these types of traditional investments and moving into the renewable sector. So there's much more interest in areas like the electric vehicle sector, rooftop solar, geothermal energy, as well as carbon capture technology. The other thing that I'm seeing is something kind of interesting. It's an uptick in green bonds. So in 2020, there were over $270 billion worth of green bonds issued, mostly by the World Bank. And what they do is they provide tax incentives, exemptions, and credits, making them a more attractive investment compared to other kinds of bonds. And so this money is used to tackle prominent social issues such as climate change and help this movement towards renewable sources of energy. So I would say things are moving in the right direction. We're not quite there yet, but when the bankers get on board, normally the financing is there to sort of move us in the direction that we should all be going.
Wow. Yeah, that's really inspirational. Like, that's really amazing. And so you had mentioned about reaching out towards the global community. So what are any insights that you have on the developing world, especially about how the poorer and more economically marginal members of our global community might have access to green financing?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. Just as we've been seeing economically marginalized people in developing countries struggle to get access to vaccines, the same is true of access to clean energy. And one of the biggest barriers they face is access to finance for clean energy. So the work that I've done has been with microfinance organizations, helping them design loan products for their client base. And these are people who typically live on less than $1 a day, some of them on less than $2 a day. And micro entrepreneurs are using these energy loans, these green loans, to buy everything from solar powered lights so that women can sew or weave at home at night, to cleaner cook stoves that don't give off fumes, to electric fans that cool their shops as the climate heats up, to electric rickshaws that don't pollute. All of this is what we call asset financing on a very small scale. And so microfinance organizations need advice on how to structure these loans. We've also been working with solar companies that offer pay-as-you-go mechanisms. And these are like little tiny meters that enable payment for rooftop solar in tiny increments. And one of the things I find most interesting is work we've done on tapping the multi-billion-dollar remittance business. So remittances are cross-border money transfers. Just think something like Western Union, and kind of channeling that into clean energy. The idea here is to help people send money back home to relatives in the countries they were born in to pay for cleaner energy. And so, you know, in my view, it's really important that we think about green financing in such a way that we're including the most vulnerable people on the planet, as often they're the ones who are suffering the most as a result of climate change. So we need to make sure we keep them front and center as we move forward.
Absolutely. And so my generation is looking to the future. And how much do you think that we should focus on green finance? And what are some of the most promising solutions we should be tracking?
Well, I think your generation should absolutely be focusing on finance. It's one of the key ways that we can spur innovation and ensure everyone is included in the green revolution. And I think the partnership between Paul Hawken and the Climate First Bank is fascinating. The idea of a community bank focused on fighting the climate crisis is appealing on really so many levels. So first of all, values-based community banking is actually a very old idea that has become fashionable again, because people miss that personal touch that has disappeared in the modern banking sector, you know, where you would walk into a bank and they actually knew who you were. And people are hungry for connection and to be associated with institutions that reflect their values. So people in your generation should definitely be looking at that kind of a solution. And just as an aside, for those of you who don't know, Climate First Bank has actually partnered with Project Regeneration to develop a one-of-the-kind checking account that will support and promote funding for Project Regeneration's mission. So it's really a good cause. So you get a super bonus, and I think you might actually get a copy of Paul's book, as well as some other things. So those kinds of ideas, I think, are really important, and your generation should absolutely be focusing on finance. It's what's going to open the doors moving forward, and there's some really interesting businesses and projects that are out there for all of you to focus on. I don't know if we've run out of time, but maybe we can answer a few questions if there is time.
What are some strategies for converting cryptocurrency to renewable power?
You know, that is probably a question for my son, who's 21 and obsessed with Bitcoin, and also happens to have just started work for a company that's focused on the carbon economy. So, you know, it's, but absolutely, there certainly in the area of remittances, the role of Bitcoin is really important and key. So yeah, I think that's a really important question, and we will be seeing. I mean, Bitcoin is part of the economy now. All the different variations of Bitcoin will be important, and banks are actually starting to address this issue. I think we just had a ruling from the SEC about that's so funny, someone saying, how about outlaw Bitcoin? Yeah, clearly a topic for an entire session, just dealing with Bitcoin, the good and bad of it. Avoid cryptocurrency. Yes, it's true, there are a lot of issues related to mining that involve ecological questions. So any other questions? I'm sort of looking at the chat, but you should really be managing this, KGB.
What is the Climate First Bank? What is the Climate First Bank doing that other banks aren't doing? Like, what is like, how are they doing this mission?
Well, I think the thing that's kind of unique and interesting about them, there have been other green banks before that we've seen develop, but what they're doing is they've made very clear what their goal and mission is. So one of the things that they've clearly laid out their values. They are not the way that they're accepting financing and the way that they're providing financing is clearly grounded in that set of values. And the other thing that they're doing is they're supporting a not-for-profit, which is clearly geared, in the form of the Regeneration project that's clearly absolutely 100% focused on this. So that is quite unique. That's not, we don't see that. You know, if you go to other banks, while they may have some investments in this sector, they are definitely not focused entirely on this sector. And I think that's something that's unique, and we'll probably see more of that moving forward.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's really great, and that this is an issue that has been under publicized, but we really have to switch to. So thank you so much. Do we have any more time left, or is that all?
There's just one question that I'm reading that is truly great, and I'm curious as well. If hopefully KGB, you don't mind me asking this. So is there a sustainability director, Mayor Armacost, or is this all you?
And actually, I'm completely obsessed with this issue. I think a number of municipalities are incredibly lucky and have someone exactly like you, Mike, who performs that function in out. We're a pretty small municipality. We have 8,500 people. And so, and I've spent a lot of my career navigating grants and various other things. So it's something that's relatively easy for me. But I highly recommend hiring Mike and Mike Types. Mike and his, I'm sure you're being cloned secretly on the side, and all of the other municipalities in the Hamptons want to get at you. It's definitely a smart investment for a municipality to make, and certainly takes the pressure off higher elected officials. And there are others who are less obsessed than me. So they definitely need someone of your brilliance and capability to help move the agenda forward.
Well, I appreciate it. Now it sounds like an infomercial for me, but thank you. KGB did a great job. Mayor Armacost, it was great to have you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.